I had a personal relation with Dr. Moreno for 12 years, and we talked. One of the best things was when he would come into New York, and they would run open sessions, the Moreno Institute in New York. How many of you were there at the old Moreno Institute on 78th Street? Anybody? A few people? Annette, probably. Two people I know. We have, yeah. Well, I used to direct on Wednesday nights, and we had Hannah Weiner on Thursday, and we had Jim Sachs on Saturday night, and on Friday night, J.L. and Zerka would come down from Beacon, and typically J.L. would give a talk and warm up the group a little bit. I'm not sure it was the best thing and best way to do it, but he would do that, and then he'd retreat to his office, and I had the pleasure of sitting in the office with him while the psychodrama sessions were going on. We had nice long conversations, which I enjoyed a lot. But his most important work, according to him, and you can decide for yourself, is what? Right, sociometry. And he said, Bob, I get them in the door with the psychodrama so I can teach them sociometry. Don't ignore it. Even in a traditional psychodrama session, you do see sociometry, right? The sociometry for warm-up. It's how do you use it? Do you use it formally in protagonist selection, which is a good thing? In early sessions, Zerka didn't use sociometry in the protagonist selection. Oddly enough, after Moreno's death, and Zerka and her then partner, friend Merlin Pitzley, came to a 5-day workshop that Jackie Siroka and I did up in someplace in the woods in New York State. And we did the sociometry as part of the warm-up process, et cetera. After that, she introduced more sociometry into the warm-up process itself. Please don't ignore it. If we hit the lottery, if the director picks a protagonist, right, and it's a great protagonist, then you have a terrific group. But that's the sociometric choice of the director, right? That's what it is. And if you get it, lucky, great. And if you miss, you don't. You can get a really dull, conflicted session if you don't get the right protagonist. And in the enactment, of course, what's the sociometry? The protagonist chooses people to play the roles. That's more sociometry. Thank you. Is this, I just been fired. Jacob gave me my notice. Thank you very much. The 11 Commandments. Thank you very much. That's good. I'm sorry. It's okay. I know you people. My paternal grandmother's name was Mary Magdalene, which is interesting. And my maternal grandmother's name was Miriam. So we get an interesting combination of that. And so let me go to the sociometry of the sharing. So you know the people that share are the ones connected to the event and to the protagonist and to the drama, but they are drawn sociometrically to share. The people that were not connected to it are often reluctant to share. As we know as directors, how do you get them to participate? So sociometry pervades the entire process. And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. People looking here, what? I'm friends with Jonathan Moreno, and Jonathan has the quotations that psychodrama without sociometry is blind, and sociometry without psychodrama is sterile. So, Moreno gave the sociometric journal away to the American Sociological society. And I know it annoyed Zerka greatly because it was the only journal that was making any money at that time. And she couldn't understand, but he said, and I agree, too much metrum, not enough socius, that it went all quantitative instead of qualitative. And that's why we get lost with that. So what I would like to talk about a little bit is the importance of qualitative sociometry, which is how a person perceives their interpersonal world. And it's from that phenomenological standpoint that we understand our place in the world and the way things work. And the key to it is something that we all talk about, but is not really well studied. It's studied in a lot of ways, but not in this way. What is it? Something we all have used the word. It's a role. So the way we enter a person's world can be looked at through a role very easily. So what I'd like people to do just for a minute is, on your own, think about a role in your life, whatever it is, whatever comes to you. Just, if you have a piece of paper, put it down on paper right now, okay? Any role. And no, bagels don't count. Rolls. Thank you. Okay, that shouldn't take that long, right? If you can't find the pen, that's probably what's taking longer. Then just think about the role in the notebook of your mind. Okay? Now, in this role, we first understand that every role has a context. And what's the context? The context, people, places, objects, and historical, social, and cultural background for every role. So if you think about this and think deeply about role, and you look at what is the cultural context. For example, say if you pick a role of father. So what's the cultural context? What's a father supposed to be in a role? What is the role of father? What is your role of father? What is the father role you experienced? What about the cultural aspect of what it means to be a father? Good, bad, indifferent. What is the role? And who's involved with, if you're using father, who's involved with the person in that father role? And where does it take place? What was the place? So you see in the setting, using the role as a place in, the setting is the stage. The players are the people connected into the role. The way you experience yourself and the others in the role gives you the warm-up to begin the enactment and whatever it is, the elaboration of the phenomenological sociometric position of how you are in the world. So using the role as an entry point. You can use this, and since I've had to emphasize more of this since I've not been able to do a lot of group work, although I once did account, I've done thousands and thousands of hours of psychodrama groups, thousands, starting for a long time. In the old days was a lot of different group times. I think when I first, I won't get it. That's a different story. But I'm going to skip that one. Working with individuals now, if you ask them about a role, have them go to the role, and then build a context out of that. And when you get the chance, and you get to things that are conflicted, that are hurtful, that are unfinished business, that are act hungers. You then do an enactment individually. Whether you do it online or you do it in person, but it gives you a way in very quickly to what the person is about. And even if they pick a peripheral role, you get a lot of information to it. So now, how about a role that's really up for you now? And then you go into a hotter role from the original warm-up. And that's a way to take what we call perceptual sociometry into the individual session. So it could pervade all of our work, shape and inform us about what is going on. So there's a little bit of a history here. So that's the current item, but some original history which I was booked for. Oh, I forgot. This is a keynote address. Okay, everybody. Let's hear it. Great. 441 East Fordham Road. We have the keynote and the address. Now we move on to everything else. That's what he booked me for. I'm not going to say, take my double, please. Okay, thank you. All right. So, Jacob, you handed me that right. Well, you've got great handwriting, Jacob. So, from Jacob's book, Psychodrama 21st Century, the first thing in the forward that I wrote is that man is a role player. Role, very important. It's not like role playing. It's not like the things that are role playing. That's phony. It's not real, etc. But Moreno talks about the roles being prior to the formation of self. Very interesting. Some of the new, I'm not going to get into the more of the neurological basis or social neurology now, but the idea is, think about it. What if the self is not in our bodies? Think about it. What if the self is between us? Crazy? No, think about it. So there is some indication that there is some change, and there's some studies about it, and you can dig through the weeds to look it up. But what happens if all the emphasis on embodiment, etc. But what about the co-creation that goes on in the world? How much is that our sense of self, the way we are with others as part of that, not separate, but part of it? So it's an interesting thing. I don't know. Anybody have any thoughts about that? Let's hear. Has anyone ever thought about it this way? In what way do you think about it? Somebody getting some nods. Anyone say it? Any thoughts about it out loud? It's okay. Doesn't have to be. Okay. Think some more. We'll do it. It's a little different. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thank you. First of all, I want to commend everybody that is continuing to work remotely and on Zoom to keep things together. And it's not my cup of tea either, but it's better than nothing for sure, and better than a lot of things, yes. my personal thought about that is that I think some of the telly gets filtered out when you digitize. That telly is holistic, and the digitization filter, it's like a filter, my perception of a filter for the telly. It's not taking away from all the courageous and innovative things people have done with it. But you said it's not the same. I agree with you. And and I don't think it's just me being old school. So a little of the history, ASGPP. You know, we used to have, Murray had a very, let's put it this way, Murray had a very clever idea. I was elected president-elect of the ASGPP in 1972. And he had a clever deal going. Whoever the president-elect was, they ran the meeting for the next 2 years until you became the president. So you knocked your socks off putting good meetings together because you're coming into your presidency. So 72 and then in 74, became president. I was the president of the society when JL died. So there's a lot to do, but we worked like beavers to get the thing done, and we had some great meetings. We pulled it out of it was sort kind of dissipating and going away, had sort of egotistical things going on or whatever, but from 1970s to 80s, we got the point where the meetings we would have 2,000 people at meetings at that time. And some of you were there in some of the big meetings. An average meeting was 1,500, and a small meeting, over 1,000, which was tremendous. But there were a lot of things that went into that change. The culture changed, other things changed. My suggestion was that, which didn't go, was, and I got tired of fighting it, that you have it in one place every other year, like New York area, because that was a center place and we would get these big crowds there. People wanted to spread it out. I think it's great. I said, so have a chapter that's in another part of the country. In alternate years, you do it in Phoenix, or you do it in California, or you do it in Illinois. And then, because people will come back in a 2-year basis. Once you took it out of 3 years, the attendance fell flat. That's the data. Another thing happened is that there was some competition. In the beginning days, the conferences, ASGP was the only organization that did live workshops. All the other things did papers, panels, discussions, nice, but no action workshops. They started changing that. Then there's the normal competition with the other group, Psychotherapy Society, and that had a little its own, that's a little side issue. But the idea of having live workshops was taken over by something at that time was called the Family Networker, and now transformed into the Psychotherapy Networker, which now has the big conferences. And they have eclectic things. So we were eclectic. I have a program here from 1972, looking at all the different things. We had big program at Barbizon Hotel, and we had people from psychoanalysis, we had people from behavior therapy. It's very eclectic. The idea at that time is the more we exposed these other people to psychodrama and sociometry, the more likely they were to incorporate some of the things, imitate or refer, or to become part of. And we did that, and we tried to do that. But eventually, the climate changed. Also, some very practical things. We're here with all the problems. First, I want to commend everybody for finding the room here. I think there's 8 people. Thank you. There's 8 people that are still wandering around the ball field. I saw them. But the hotels, want a little sentimentality. Some of you, were you ever at the Hotel Pennsylvania for a meeting, a conference? You were? Yes. Well, they're tearing the hotel down right now as we speak. And if you don't know, Hotel Pennsylvania across from Penn Station. Remember Pennsylvania 6, 5,000. Do 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 da do 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 da da do. That's it, etc., etc. So I remember we had a therapist band. The dance, we had a minimum of 1,000 people dancing in the ballroom at Hotel Pennsylvania. This is high ceiling, but the other was 4 stories more high ceiling platform. That's where Glenn Miller and the other bands used to play for the big concerts or whatever. So we had the therapist band. We had Gene Eliasoff on clarinet, who's a very good clarinet player. We had Bob Flick, a very good trumpet player, who's a TEP. He's semi-retired now. Bob Fullrod on drums, an excellent drummer, had a master's of percussion and very good psychodramatist. And we had Cal Sturgis on piano. Cal Sturgis was a professor at Columbia Social Work School of Group Work and part of our psychodrama community, and great piano player. So we're playing, there's 800 people dancing, we're going around, and we're improvising. And then I played the bass. That's what I did. Or the trombone, but the bass in this case. And so we're playing, and I think Gina Larisoff took a clarinet solo, great. And we go, okay, Cal Sturgis, take it away. He's playing the piano, he's sitting on a stand. He falls off the stand over backwards. It's unfortunately, it was only 14 inches high. We look, Cal's not there. Cal's a very tall guy. He's 6'4", big guy, great piano player. We see his hands come up from the floor, and he plays the entire solo lying on the floor with his hands with the band. And the band is doubled over, laughing while 1,000 people dancing out there. And it was a lot of fun, those type of meetings, but they're very festive. And this was before Facebook and all the other devices which came out of sociometry, as you know. And but that's how people met each other. There were all kinds of sub rosa events that occurred between people of various kinds. They should remain nameless and anonymous. And people made good friendships. They broke up marriages. They had all kinds of things that came out of these events. So those were the good old days, so to speak. Well, speaking about good old days, I just read I was in my cardiologist's office on Tuesday for normal checkup. Got a checkup. I'm reading the old magazine from 2018 that I read every time. That's there in the waiting room. And I read this study about the idea of optimism adding to longevity. It's a documentation, big study. It was many, many more women than men, like 62,000 women and maybe 3,000 men, but still statistically it worked. And it said, the more optimistic you are, the better the chance you have to live past 85. I said, that's great. Because the next day I was 85. So I knew that that's a good thing. And so far, it's working out. So far. Anyway, thank you. Wait. I ain't finished yet. But I did look, I have the program, I found an old journal here. What I noticed is people you'll know from the books and reading. As some of you know, I'm not a big writer. A lot of other people do the writing. I'm glad for students of mine to do writing. Jacob Gershoni has written a wonderful book. Tion Dayton has written lots and lots of books. These are all students that have trained and written, many other people. Dan Tomasulo, really, really excellent folks. But so I looked at this program. I see Annette Garber's here, one of the original Moreno trainees. Hello, Annette. She won. She's in the program, but I can't find the name. I saw it here. I noticed a little odd thing, and I don't know what it means, but I saw that all the preliminary conference workshops, which seemed to be some kind of form of status at that time. You had Zirka Moreno, Jim Sachs, Robert Siroka, James Ennis, Elaine Goldman, and Hannah Weiner did all of the 6 preliminary intensives. I'm the only one who's walking around. Everybody else, were you, what? Yeah, but you didn't do the workshop before. You were in the back room. Oh, you're walking around, I know. I'm only talking about the ones who had this. Yeah, you're still walking is good, me too. Yeah. So, Jacob's book, a few points that I would like to read from the foreword that are very, I think, essential. One is that man is a role player. Second, the self emerges from the roles. Interesting, and I looked at some early childhood studies the other day. I was warming up a little bit. I'm saying, oh, what's going on? What's happening? But the idea, you see little children, that they have the roles before they have a sense of I. So the roles in development precede that. Interesting. Don't ignore the roles, they're essential. The somatic roles, the psychological roles, the social roles. So the idea about the self is an interpersonal rather than a personal construct. I raised the idea maybe the self is what happens between us. That's the self. That's your self, myself, ourself, we self. It breaks the isolation. Anyone have any thoughts about that? Is that such a crazy idea to make? Do you think that way, or is it odd to think about that? Yes. Wow, I know it has. Thank you. I know it has. I know it does. We've yet to figure out how it's impacted. In a sense, this conference is a courageous attempt to repair some of that. And everybody here, I think, should be commended for their either courage or force of habit or ignorance or joy. But the idea is you're here, we're here. And is there an us here? Is there an us here? It's not just an I. It's an I for an I, an us for an us, as the song goes. Do you know that song? Hasn't been written. You might know it later. Yes. You think there's nobody there? No. Yeah, thank you. Grace, that's really, I wasn't going to go there because I'll give my personal sense about this. As you know, raised in a agnostic family with Catholicism on one side, Judaism on the other side. And I looked for a time, I thought about, what is a spiritual life, all those questions. But when I come to think about it, and you raise the issue for me here, is that My personal belief is that God is telly. That what happens in that process is the creative part of the universe. I'm talking about creativity, the creation of the universe, recreated in our interpersonal relationships in the positive telly framework. So for me, that's my part of my spiritual sense, that it's the telly. And you raised it from what you brought here to the sense about it. There are other ways to look at it, but that's my personal take, and I'm sharing it because it's all your fault. Thank you so much. Another point. Oh. Mm. 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 Yeah, well, thank you. Yes, that's absolutely true. The so the next part of from Jacob's work is that spontaneity and its resultant creativity is a driving force in human development. I think almost everyone could agree with that here. I don't know. Don't you think? Spontaneity and creativity, essential, essential. You know. So, uh, the telly factor operating in social relationships is an existential force. It's driving our presence and our connection with each other. So that's the next part. The next part of the intro, group structure, co-determined role behavior, and can be evaluated by the participants. That's the sociometry, yes. You can look at the structure of the group. So how come you sat at the table you sat at? Now, I don't know why, because there was an empty chair? That would be the empty chair technique? Is that it? No? That wouldn't be it? Huh? Why? Is there someone you knew? How many did sat at the table for affiliative reasons? Raise your hand. Uh-huh. Not bad, right? And some of the people who didn't do that, maybe you can warm up to affiliate with some of the people that you sat with who you don't know, and, you know, like that. Aneth, yes. I proximity, that's right. But proximity, you like that? Is it close enough? I should come over here. Okay, thank you. Proximity is next to godliness. Who said that? Somebody who misquoted someone said that. That's good. Okay, the next part is psychotherapy utilizes both action and verbalization, show and tell. I believe I used to do the workshop. The complete therapist, I believe, not only should be able to listen and talk and be present, but also to show and interact. And with the change, with the idea of going from the isolated, the model, whereas you would have a detached analyst listening out of not being interactive and give some interpretation which is supposed to be helpful to the person. The model changed to an interactive, I hate the word intersubjectivity. It's around the place all the time, but I can barely say it. I don't like it. But it has to do with what's happening between us. So put up with it, but that seems a little clinical to me, and I'm not that crazy about it. But show and tell, that's a revolution in psychotherapy. Just the idea that that's the way to do it. Now it's normal. Okay, right? But if you've seen the history of it, no. The therapist shares something? Pff, no. Ooh, ethical, non-ethical, ethical. No. But I'm not talking about exploitation and manipulation. I'm talking about presence, about being there fully as a human being in a situation, not as a clinical entity examining a subject under a microscopic situation. So presence, the here and now, and show and tell, all part of the therapy repertoire, which was influenced largely by Moreno and others in that point. He didn't do everything, by the way, in the science. He did a lot of things, and a lot of things first. And he was always conflicted between getting credit and not getting credit. And it was, it was not his best role. Yes. Absolutely. Wherever they want to move, they may just want to be present and stay where they are, which is okay too. But to move forward, if that's where they want to go. But to be available for that, you have to be present. How many people here are present? Raise your hand if you're present. If you're absent, raise your hand. 3 of you, okay, good. And if you're absent-minded, you forget which hand to, that's good. Yeah. Okay. The therapist is an active producer-director of the drama of the client protagonist. Anyone disagree with that? I'll say it again. You didn't hear it. The therapist is an active producer-director of the drama of the client protagonist. Okay. All right. All psychotherapy is group psychotherapy. What? So be careful when you code it on your insurance form. Because what are you going to say? A person came to your office and they brought all these other people into the office with them, the whole role and the people around their role and situation. It's group therapy. But you can't code it that way because they don't get it. Maybe, another 50 years. Last one. The last one is joy, creativity, and laughter are vital to human existence, and as such should be a part of psychotherapy. Without that, it's duller than hell. No joy, no joy. So, what's it all about? Who knows? Maybe Jacob will tell us what it's all about. You going to tell us something, Jacob, what it's all about, since I quoted from your book?
I go by free association.
Free association, yeah.
Joy Behar is the famous psychodramatist.
Yes. Joy Behar is a famous psychodramatist? Okay. Yes, she is. I don't go for free association. I think reasonably priced association is better. Free? Who knows? Okay, let's get to the talk. Okay. Who's got the time? Can anybody tell the time on that clock? What time is it? 10 of 10. We go to 10 o'clock? Five more minutes. Okay, 5 more minutes. Okay. Well, okay. Well, it's going to have to be another day for the exposition of the phenomenological approach to sociometry. and to understand, but just to review that it's role-based, that every role has an entire context and setting. You look at the context of the role. You look at the feelings that come up in the role. And using role is a major thing. I would just say, here's an interesting thing. So one useful concept, I'm going to add this, and you can add this to your work with people. And I like a warm-up or a discussion and a question about, in our life, roads that were not taken. What roads did we not take? I was a music major at Montclair State College in New Jersey in the 50s. And you had to be a music major on your instrument and a minor on piano, or be a piano major and a minor, another minor. Well, I was a very good, I was a very good tuba player. I played a concert with the U.S. Navy Band when it came to high school. Good. They said, Bob, go down to Washington, D.C. and audition for the U.S. Navy Band School. So, okay, I went down there. I was accepted. I would go to the band school. I was going to join the Navy and play for the president's inauguration and as a Marine, you know, in the president's band. And I didn't take it. It's a road not taken. Well, because I was not a very good piano player, I had to leave Montclair State. I didn't flunk out, but I transferred over to NYU. It was a great place at that time in Greenwich Village. And I met a lot of people that opened my world up. It was very good. So I went to the practice room one day, or practice. You'd have to be a piano minor there, so I could do the thing. So I'm a music major. I go to the practice room, and on the board I see an index card. It says, person wanted at Manhattan Psychiatric Hospital to assist in the music therapy department. So I take the index card off and put it in my pocket. I call them up, and I had an audition. I went there, and they gave me the gig. So in the summer of 1958, something like that. Yeah, 58. I worked out of Manhattan State Hospital. Changed the course of my life. I said, whoa, I know enough music, but I have to learn psychology. So I was able to switch to get another major, to get another psychology major along with music. So NYU is flexible. I have the only degree, I ever got a Bachelor of Science degree in music and psychology from NYU. They created one to put it together. There was nothing there at the time. And then I went into the field and went on for graduate study. But I went in, and eventually, by 2 years later, I was offered the job to be the director of music therapy at Manhattan State Hospital. So I got in the field very early, and music therapy was my entree to the field. And I learned something very early. I would go as the head of the department, music therapy department. I'm a 21-year-old, 22-year-old kid. I could go to all the clinical conferences. So they would have a stage. In the orchestra pit, they'd have 8 psychiatrists. A psychiatrist on stage would interview a patient for an hour. And then the patient would leave, and the psychiatrist on a big chart would hold up the diagnosis in the air, like a gong show. And I would see 8 psychiatrists and 5 diagnoses. I said, wow, this is not really an exact science. So I learned a lot of lessons very early in that way. We had great bands. It was the catchment area in New York, Upper Manhattan, from Harlem. I had people from Count Basie's band, from Duke Ellington's band. We had great music. We had wonderful department there, and I did that for a few years, but that was my entree into the field. But if I wasn't a lousy piano player, and if I didn't find this index card and go into the field this way, we would not be here, any of us, just because that road, because of all the things that preceded that. The organization, who knows what would happen, this and that. We definitely would be different. So here we are. I thank everyone for being here. We're going to end with the keynote. Ba Thank you very much. You've been great. Okay, let's get the boss up here.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Bob. And in 20 years, you may be up here doing the same thing, or 40 or 50, right? Thanks, Bob. We have one announcement.
More announcements. Okay, Bob, thank you. You're so funny. There are some room changes happening after lunch. So I think it's 2 or 2:30. And what?
Tell them they have to find themselves.
Yeah, they have to get, let's see, can you intuit it? Okay, Bob. So Journey of the Soul, which is Nina's workshop, is switching from 3:11 to 1:12. And I Love Biggie, which I think is Kathy Nugent's because she has that animal, so cute, her little animal, is moving from 1:12 to 3:11. So they're just switching places, okay? I also want to say, pay attention to the exhibitors as you walk out and the sponsors. They have candy and they'll talk to you. We also have this, and pens, we have the silent auction going on downstairs. So please stop in the ballroom and look at that, make your bids. Our presenters, many of our presenters are offering workshops at discounted rates, you bid. And we have rare books that are very hard to find. We've tried to find them. We had them in storage and we found them. So they are out on a table or two. Also, we have journals. We have journals from 1947, older, all the way up. And that's our fundraiser. So if you're interested in a journal that's really old, there's a can, put more money in for the older journals and the newer journals. It's up to you. We put pricing out there, but just whatever you want to put in the can to take some journals, because we closed our storage unit and we need to pass on all these journals. And there's a fourth thing that I'm not remembering. I have to look. Let me just look. Can you hold that, please?
I'll be happy to. Do I say something?
Maybe on the newer journals that you take money out?
Okay. The awards luncheon is Saturday, and if you've signed up for the full conference, you get the awards luncheon included. So if you didn't sign up for the full conference, there's a charge of $45, and you would want to come. It's a whole luncheon, and we see our award winners. So downstairs, Sam will take a credit card, a check, cash for the luncheon on Saturday, okay? Have a great day. Thank you all. Lots of newbies. Bob, you're the best.
I'm going to add one more, and that is, I know. Stop, please. There's a welcome reception tonight. There's a welcome reception tonight to, I believe, is that here, Lori? Is the welcome reception here? The welcome reception is here after the last workshop, and then after, it's after the diversity forum, I believe, and then we have coffee and comedy after the welcome reception. So it's a very full day. So we hope you are here to enjoy all of it. Thank you.
Yes, I'm glad it worked. Thank you.